All right, Coach. Coming off a split of matches against Miami and Bowling Green, what'd you like that you saw out of the team last weekend, and what do you guys need to improve on heading into this last weekend of the regular season?
As far as liked, just the resilience our team showed, the character they showed in the Bowling Green match. One, to come back the night after losing to Miami, but particularly to come back after we lost the third set the way that we did, after being up and then losing 36-34, to go all the way and then win that in 5 was a great win. As far as things that maybe didn't like, I just thought Friday night we were tight. I just didn't really like where we were emotionally when the game started. And as I said that night, that's something that falls on me. If the team's not in the right place, that's my fault. And so I need to do a better job making sure they're in the right place mentally and emotionally when we go into key matches. And that's something that we'll need going forward when we go into postseason play.
With that 70-point third set against Bowling Green, A, have you ever been a part of a set like that before? And B, were you concerned at all about the emotional state of your team coming out of that?
Well, A1, good math on you, first of all, getting 70 there. But, yeah, I've been a part of some that have been upper 30s, maybe one that got to 40, but it's very rare, certainly. So it's fun to be a part of. It's always more fun if you win those sets, obviously. I had some concerns after that set because if we'd been behind that set and then caught them and then lost, that hurts. But when you're ahead comfortably in a set and then that lead goes away and then you keep playing and playing and playing and playing, and then we made a couple of poor decisions late in that set that we shouldn't have made, a couple of just mental errors that we shouldn't have made that didn't help us win that third set. There's certainly the opportunity for us to be in a bad place mentally and emotionally after that, but our team did a good job responding and came back out, won a competitive fourth set, and then dominated. I don't say dominated. It was a close fifth set, but it was a comfortable set. We were ahead 3, 4, 5 points, I think we were at 5-2, maybe, I believe. And then from that point, I don't think they got closer than about 3 points. And so it was a good win for us against a good team.
How big was Katie for you guys and just your blocking in general in that win over Bowling Green?
Great night of team blocking. Katie offensively was just incredible, and that's something that we've been really pushing the last several weeks just to get our middles more involved in the offense. And we have really good pin players, and they've carried us all year. But if you're going to win in the postseason, if you're going to go win a championship, we have to achieve more balance. And so that's something we've been pushing for. And that's one of the first nights we've really seen it transfer. And hopefully that'll be a great lift for Katie going forward.
Do you sense that teams are kind of keying on Mallory more after that stretch that she had of 22-plus kills in 5 straight matches?
I think they key on both our outsides. Whenever we're in a two-hitter phase, so when Allie's out of the game, we just have 2 hitters, then we're going to see a lot of commits to our outsides, and that's going to continue until we start producing more out of the middle. And I think Saturday was maybe a great first step towards that. When you have a middle that goes 17 kills on 23 attempts, something like that, hits for a huge percentage, other teams have to at least be aware of that. And I think most teams are just going to make the decision, look, we're going to shut down their outsides or do our best to do that and then make other people beat us. And if we can start showing high-level success in those other locations, then the outsides will get better looks as well.
You guys went to a kind of a 2-setter approach against Bowling Green. You're subbing Steph and Caitlin in and out for each other. How do you think that – it seemed like that worked pretty well for you guys, but what kind of challenges does that present to the team when they're dealing with a different setter every couple of points?
Well, there are a number of teams that we play that run 6-2, and with 2 setters all the time, just kind of a normal one setter plays across the back, then the other setter plays across the back. NIU does that, Miami does that, so a couple of the top teams in our conference are running that system. It's not unusual. What is unusual is doing it the way we do it. It's more of a 5-2, or some people might call it a split 5-1. It's no secret. It's not like it's going to tip our hand in scouting. Steph's a good blocker and not a good back row defender. And Caitlin's a good back row defender and not a good blocker. And so that's just the reality. And it gives us kind of the strength of both when we do that. I think when Steph is defending in the back row, I think our hitters are probably a little more comfortable with her just because they've had so many more reps with her. But if she's not defending at the level that we need, then Caitlin gives us a good option to go in there and dig balls. And Caitlin, I think she had 11 digs in a 5-set match, playing only the back row. which is a good number.
Without tipping your hand too much, will that be something you continue to do, or is that something that's going to be a kind of a matchup-based kind of deal?
Yeah, I think it's a matchup deal, and it's also just seeing how the night's going. And that's something that I'd like to tell you that we had this grand plan before the year started, and it's worked out exactly. And, we planned for illnesses, and we planned starting middle to be out for 5 weeks, and you plan all these things, you don't. But you adjust and you make changes, whatever you feel you need to do on that day to earn the win. And thankfully, our kids do a good job of making me look better than I probably should. A lot of those days when you make those changes, you can make it and look really good if they do it right, or you can make changes and leave people thinking, why did they do that? That was a really poor decision. And our kids have been able to roll with all the changes. And there have been a number of them this year. And we're in position now to go into this last weekend and finish with as many as 12 wins in conference on a year after you graduate as many starters as we did on a year that we've had some other challenges to be in position to do that. And we haven't done it yet. We're at 10 right now. But just to be in a position right now to have the opportunity to finish the year with 12 wins, which are only one win behind where we were a year ago with a much older team, that's doing some pretty good things by our kids.
You touched on some of the challenges you guys have had to deal with this year. Where does this season rank in your career in terms of injuries, illnesses, just random stuff kind of throwing the plan out of whack a little bit? And following up on that, how would you grade the team's ability to respond to that this year?
I think it's interesting. So when you watch on senior night, we had the video in here, and the girls talk about, they were saying this was their favorite year because of the challenges. And that's something that our phrase before the year started was embrace the struggle. And that was going to have more to do with just being really young to start the year. And it's going to be harder this year when you graduate that many starters. We didn't maybe fully understand what the struggle was going to be. There's a lot more to it. But it's not, a lot of teams are dealing with that. It's not an excuse. It's just some years are harder than others in some ways. But despite the challenges that we faced early season, we're now in a place late season that we're fairly healthy. I mean, our older kids are beat up a little bit, and that's not uncommon. But for the most part, we're cleared and we're back to playing. And there's some kids, they have injuries, so they lose a kid for the whole year. And so we feel blessed to be at the important time of year getting healthier. Again, with the exception of our older kids, they're just trying to hang in there, but that's true for a lot of teams. As far as where it ranks, I mean, I've had several of those years. Just when you coach for a long time, there's some years that it just seems like everything is just smooth and everything goes well. And some years there are challenges. And I think one of the years, and I told this story to our team, one of my favorite years, and certainly my favorite year of a team that went to the NCAA tournament, was a year at my previous school that we started 4-12, and we had injury after injury, and we thought we were going to get everybody back. And I remember the one night we thought everybody's back, yay! Then our player, who went on to become Conference Player of the Year, landed on a ball in serving warm-ups, sprained her ankle, was out 6 weeks, and we're like, what the heck? Couldn't get anything to go right. So we start 4-12, and we end up in the NCAA tournament, and competitive match against Louisville, and so it sounds weird. I mean, it sounds a little masochistic to say it, but it's enjoyable to be challenged, and it's enjoyable to have to go through things. It's more stressful, but at the same time, when you do achieve things, you really feel like you've earned it. You really feel like that's worth a great deal, as opposed to just going out and, hey, everything was easy this year. So I don't know. We enjoy both. We enjoy when things are nice and clean and everything goes according to plan. But there's a lot of good life lessons to be learned when you get challenged, and a number of players have to step up and are involved maybe in ways they weren't expecting, and we still find ways to win. Again, it's just a real tribute to our team.
Would it be fair to say that this coming weekend is going to be one of the more challenging ones of the season, just because you're on a short week, you're playing a Kent State team that's coming off their biggest win of the year against Miami,
right? And
then you got to haul it to Mount Pleasant to close out the season.
Right.
Does this present a kind of more tough challenges than you've
Yeah,
dealt
I
with
think
this
that
year?
just the travel in general over the next 2 weeks is the challenge. I think this week, the short rest to get back to Kent State. There's some challenge to that, but then you get a day off before you play Central Michigan. We get a day to travel to get there, so it's not terrible. My bigger concern is, we're going to get back in town 4:30 in the morning, probably Sunday morning, and then we're going to turn around and go to NIU a couple days later. Not a couple, but 3 or 4 days later, and start conference play and tournament play, playing multiple matches in a row. Just the totality of the next couple of weeks, that's the concern, and making sure we do a good job getting our kids rest when we can, having good practices but not overdoing it in here is going to be key this week, and knowing that Kent's playing really well. I mean, they're, like, as of this moment, they're 7th in conference, but I think, if I'm remembering all the standings correctly, I think they can move as high as 4th. And so they're certainly playing for some big opportunities this weekend to play, to have a right to get a bye. I mean, that's a huge thing for them. So we know, Kent State's always a tough match. They're a big rival, and we've had some great matches here and there over the last couple of years with them, and expect nothing less than that when we go there. And then Central, they're a team they're not maybe having the success yet that they would like, but they're playing people well, and we're seeing the stats, we're seeing some close matches, and they're not a team that we take lightly, for sure.
And my last question for you is just a scouting report on them. We've already seen them once this year, and then you'll be seeing Central Michigan for the first time.
Yeah, they made a couple of changes. They have a kid that's Norberg that's been out with an injury for the last 4 matches. We always scout planning on her being back. She's a very good player, and she's been very good against us several times. And so we're going to plan on her being out there, and if she's not, that's okay, but we'll expect her there. They've flipped their outsides a couple times, so we're not exactly sure the rotation, the matchups we're going to see. But I think they have a number of kids that can score and can play at a high level. Obviously, we just saw that against Miami on Saturday. They had, I think Bittinger went for 20 and 20 in that one, and a couple of the kids were pretty close to 20 kills on that. So we know it's going to be a good match. They have an outstanding libero, well-coached team. So no, that's going to be a tough match for us. As far as going Central Michigan, I don't know as much about them, the individual players yet, because every time we play a short week, when we have the Thursday, Saturday, we only focus on our Thursday opponent until we're done Thursday. And so one of our assistant coaches is preparing the scouting for that. But I literally will not look at Central Michigan at all until I get on the bus after we're done playing Kent. It's just something that when our weeks play out this way, that's how we choose to do it.
You guys have any questions?
Kind of going off of that, you talked a lot about what you see from Kent. Your second time seeing them, what do you kind of expect out of your own team to do differently this time around?
Well, I hope we're becoming more balanced, and that's what I talked about earlier, just with getting the middle a little more involved. That has to be not something we do for one night and say, yay, Katie, that was good for you, but that needs to become more of who we are. And if so, we can limit the swings we're taking on the outsides, we'll be more effective on the outside, and we're just tougher to defend. It's just any team that is balanced is always tougher to defend because you don't have the same pattern, the same rhythm, the same set location, the same timing for the block, all that. And so that's something we need to do, and that's what I would say I really hope to see against Kent.
Do you feel that your team's focus is still just one day at a time, or do you feel it's more towards kind of a future play, kind of looking down the schedule at the conference tournament, just because it's towards the end of the year? Where would you say your team's focus is at?
Yeah, good question. I think it's a balance of those two. It is. You always have to be one day at a time because you can lose very quickly if you're not focused one day at a time. And there are a number of examples we can see across the conference, ourselves and other teams as well. But at the same time, we know that as we're practicing today, we're practicing for next week, and we're practicing for what could happen there. It's quite possible that we could play Kent State this Thursday and then play them again next Friday. There's a lot of things that kind of go into that, and the way you prepare for a team. You want to do just enough to win without showing more of what you're thinking about doing for tournament, and it's always a kind of a fine line with that. But certainly we're trying to balance that right now. We want to be good Thursday, but we really want to be thinking about what can we do today, tomorrow, Friday, as we go through the remaining practices we have to get ready for conference tournament.
And then last question for me. You had the tight win against Bowling Green Saturday. How do you look to keep that kind of fighter's mentality going into Thursday, Saturday, and into conference tournament play?
Well, it's been, I think, a mentality for our team most of the year. I mean, a number of our wins have been after being behind, either losing the first set and then winning in 4, or being down 2-1 and coming back and winning. I don't know how many times it's happened, but it's quite a few. I mean, I would guess if we have 10 conference wins, I mean, I can think of at least 4 that we were down either 1-0 or down 2-1 and came back and won. There could be more than that. And so it's just, our team has a great sense of calm about them. And with the exception of coming out the first set against Miami just being really, really tight, they haven't seemed to really get rattled. And I think that's a great thing to see. It's a tribute you would normally say it's from a mature team. And so it's good to see that we're growing in maturity as a team, and we're growing in our ability to just handle whatever comes and then put that behind us and move on to the next set, move on to the next point. And Saturday was a great example of that.
Thank you.
Certainly.
It being a senior night on Saturday, how are you able to compare the career of Mallory in comparison to those great seniors you had last year, like Abby and Meredith?
Right. I think Brooke and Mal are first great leaders for our team. They are great student athletes. They're great representatives. I think it's always hard when you try to compare kids that don't play the same position. You know, it's kind of comparing apples and oranges. You know, you can look at Brooke and say, well, you know, she's been a 3-rotation player most of her career. So how does that compare to a Meredith Ashley? Well, Meredith Ashley played twice as many points. That's kind of hard to do. It's hard to compare Mal with, you know, a Kelly Lamberti, because for the first 2.5 years of Mal's career, she didn't play front row. But then this year she had a run of matches 5 in a row with 22 kills that no one's done in the history of our program. You know, so it's kind of hard to compare when you look at the entire body of work. I know that we love those kids. And I love that they're in our program, and I love that they're leading our team. I love that we have the opportunity just right outside those doors to honor them Saturday night. And I think it's more a matter of let's wait and see how this year finishes, you know, and let's see what we do as a team, and let's see if Brooke and Mal, when they're done, have a ring for every finger, because that's what they're focused on right now. And I would tell you that although every competitor wants a big role, of course, every competitor wants to go out and get the game-winning kill and, you know, do those things. The really, really good teammates want the team to be successful. And those kids, if we're in the conference final and Brooke only digs 8 balls and Mal only hits 100 and we win, they don't care. They truly don't. They truly don't. They just want to win. And I love that about them. And that's something that I think we'll know more when this is all over. You know, how do they fit in those things? If they can go their entire career, and obviously we're not going to win regular season this year. That's off the table. But if we can win conference tournament, and they can say every year of their career they won either regular season or conference tournament or both, then that's a pretty special career. And so we're hoping we can all work hard. And just as our kids played really hard Saturday night to help do that for them, we'll continue to prepare hard, coach hard, play hard, so those kids can go off the way that they deserve.